Good morning, Year 4, and welcome to your Monday's maths lesson. This lesson is going to be for the children which have got the Year 3 booklet. So if you've got the Year 3 booklet, then this lesson is for you. Now I would like you to turn to page 6 in your booklets, and you will find this page here. Okay, now we're only going to complete this page today. Okay, and today we're going to be looking at measurement. So you can see at the top of your page it says scales, and scales is a way of measuring. Now before we begin, I've got some vocabulary that I want us to have a look at first. Now you might know these already, but here we have got some symbols. So kg. Kg means kilograms. Okay, and that's a way to measure weight. Okay, how heavy something is, you can measure it in kilograms. So you could also measure your own weight in kilograms. Underneath, we've got ml, and that means milliliters. Milliliters measures the capacity, how much of a liquid is held in a container. So we measure that in what's called milliliters. So you might want to check next time you have a bottle of juice or a bottle of water or anything that's a liquid in a container, it will tell you how many milliliters there are in there. So if we've got milliliters, it's measuring the capacity of how much of a liquid is in a container. Finally, we've got this symbol. So it looks like a little zero. It's not a little zero, it's not a digit. But you've got this circle and then a capital C. And that represents degrees Celsius. So the C represents Celsius and the circle represents degrees. So you've got degrees Celsius. Who knows what this would measure? Who can tell me what this would measure? It would measure temperature. Temperature is how hot or cold something is. So you can also check on if you look on your parents' weather app, it will tell you what degrees Celsius it is today, and it will predict what degrees Celsius it will be tomorrow. So these are the three that we are going to be looking at today. The first one we are going to be looking at is milliliters, because you can see on section 1 you've got 4 containers which have got a liquid in there. Okay, those are your 4 containers. The question says how much liquid is in each bottle. Now the first one has been done for you, so I'm going to hold this up a little bit closer so you can see. Now you've got the shaded area, and it's gone up to a line, and the line is 500 ml, which means milliliters. And that's because the line before here was 400 milliliters, and it's jumping in hundreds. So you get 400, 500, 600, and it was on the 500 mark. Now, although the 500 milliliters isn't on the container, sometimes it jumps up in hundreds. So I've drawn my own container for us to have a look at today. Okay, so here is my container. And I've got it jumping up. Now the first line, which we would call an integer, is blank. Then it jumps up to 200 milliliters, and then it's blank again. And then it jumps up to 400 milliliters. Then it's blank again, and then up to 600 milliliters. Now sometimes it doesn't jump up in hundreds, so we have to check, we have to double check. So if I was going to jump up in hundreds, would it follow the correct order? So let's say we've got 200. After that, if I was jumping up in hundreds, then it would need to be 100 more than 200, which is 300. That would be 300. 100 more than 300 would be 400. And it's there. So we're right, we are jumping up in hundreds. Now the dotted line is where my liquid is setting up to. So it's going up to this line here, and I want to know how much liquid is in that container and we're measuring it in milliliters. So looking at my integers, 100 less would be 100. So we've got 100 milliliters, 200 milliliters, and then the next 100 that it is sitting right on would be what? It's 100 more than 200. 300 it would be. But we need to remember something to put at the end. We can't just put 300 because then the answer is incorrect. Let's look back at the very beginning of the lesson. What do I need to put? Are we measuring in weight, capacity, or temperature? If we are measuring inside a container, it's going to be capacity. So we need to make sure we put our answer as 300 ml, which stands for milliliters. So now in your workbook, you've got 3 more containers which you need to complete. And I want you to write down your answers. You can pause the video and then resume back when you are ready to do section 2. Okay, so if you are ready for section 2, we are now going to be measuring in a different, we're not going to be measuring in capacity anymore. You can see that there is a dog and it is sitting on something. Who knows what it is sitting on? If you know, then you can tell the person next to you. And it's sitting on scales, and that's what we are looking at today, scales. You can see that when it sits on the scales, the arrow here will move, and it will move around the dial. Now, just like on a number line, it's the same, but it's in a circle shape. So you can see here that you've got kilograms, so we know what measurement we are weighing in. It's in kilograms. And just like before, it is counting up. Now, who can tell me what it's counting up in? So we can see a 0, now we can see a 10, and then a 20. But before the 10, there is an integer. What would that one be? It's halfway between 0 and 10. Halfway between would be 5. So each integer represents 5 more. And you can see it needs to, the arrow is pointing in between the 50 and the 60. So halfway between 50 and 60. And that's what you need to do today. You need to be looking at how much the dog weighs. Now we are measuring in kilograms. So whatever measurement you get on the dial, you need to make sure that you put kg at the end. So we know that we are weighing in kilograms. So you can complete section 2 for me. And then we will come back to the final section of 3. Section 3, your final part of your learning today. Now looking back, we have covered 2 areas of measurement. We have covered kilograms and we have covered milliliters. We have not covered degrees Celsius, which measures the temperature, and that's what we're going to be doing on our final section today. You can see on in your booklet that you have got a thermometer. This is a thermometer, and a thermometer will measure the temperature. You might have seen a thermometer before, and inside the thermometer is usually some coloured dye, and the coloured dye will rise or drop depending on how hot or cold the temperature is. And alongside the tube of dye will be a number line, and that shows you what degrees we are looking at. So here you've got a thermometer. You've got your number line, which goes from -10 all the way to 60 degrees. And it says on section 3 that Paula's bath is 34 degrees. You need to mark on the thermometer below 34 degrees. So I've done my own thermometer on a whiteboard, and what we're going to do is we're going to mark a different number very close to the one you're doing in your book. So here is my thermometer. So mine is ranging from 20 to 50 degrees Celsius. And I need to mark 32 degrees Celsius on my whiteboard. Now I'm not going to start here because I already know that I'm in the 30s, somewhere between 30 and 40. That's my range that I'm going to be looking at. Now looking at the integers here, each integer represents 1 degree. So the integer after 30 is 31. What number do I need to get up to? I need to get up to 32. So I've got 30. I'm going to start here because I know that's my range because I'm in the 30s, but I need to get to 32. So I'm going to go 31, 32. And to represent that in your book, you can draw an arrow pointing directly to that integer. And make sure it's pointing to the right one. So you can see on mine here on my whiteboard that I've made sure it's pointing right to the second integer after 30 to make it 32 degrees. In your workbooks, you need to be identifying 34 degrees. So you're going to mark that with an arrow in your books. When you've completed all of your work, please send it into the Year 4 email address as you have been doing all last week. And then me and the Year 4 team will be able to mark and feedback for any of your answers. Have a lovely day and well done.